Welcome back. We're so excited because we have Brian Turtle from Endless Games who's on Skype with us. We've been playing games. I love to play games. This is my favorite thing. And you know, sometimes when we don't know what to do with our kids, this is exactly what to do with our kids. And I love Endless Games because I encourage you to not just get one, get 3, 4, or 5, because you get them out and you don't have to play the same game a million times or for 3 hours. But these are games that honestly, it's crazy to me. It's like a Vulcan mind meld. They invented these games not knowing the kinds of things that we work on with our kids, but they make it fun, the exact same things that we work on. Which, Brian, our next thing that we want to talk about, you've got 2 different versions of Name 5. And this kills me because there is a whole lesson about naming 5 things. This is something that you do in ABA therapy.
Again, that was news to me. And it really just sort of stumbling into all these fortunate instances that sort of cross over all these educational lines and keep things fun at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, talk a little bit about these games.
Well, we've got 2. We have the original Name 5 game here, and now our new Name 5 Pop Culture Edition, which is brand new for 2016. So what Name 5 is, basically, was a game that some friends and I used to play long before we had developed it into a board game, just sort of a kind of long car ride type trivia game sort of a thing where we'd say, can you name 5 songs by the Beatles? And then one guy would sort of time another player and they'd try to rattle off as many songs as they could. And then it would be name 5 movies starring Tom Hanks. And so we sort of took that and developed that into what was the original Name 5 game. And this encompassed everything from music and movies, and it also would have things like name the 5 Great Lakes or name 5 contiguous U.S. states. So then it invited in some geography, maybe some U.S. history, some world history, and it really was a great all-encompassing board game. In fact, Name 5 is one of our all-time bestsellers at Endless Games, but it inspired us to take out some of that geography and some of that history and break out the all pop culture version of Name 5, which, like I said, is brand new for this year, for 2016. And this one is really all about those questions about 5 songs by the Beatles, 5 movies starring Tom Hanks, but also it's got things in here that are pop culture driven, such as name 5 memorable characters from commercials. So now you'll think of, some of the television commercials you might see. For some reason, I'm thinking of the woman who used to say, "Where's the beef?"
Me too. That was my first thing. Yes.
I guess that's the one that pops in everybody's head.
Yeah.
But so what you want to do is, like some of the other games, you're going against the clock in Name 5. So actually, unlike the other games we've played so far, but you're trying to rattle off 5 answers to the category within 30 seconds. So it adds that layer of tension in trying to race against the clock, but also the fun of thinking about those commercials or about those movies or songs or whatever the case may be, and coming up with 5 answers to complete the challenge.
Yeah, and what I love about this, again, you can play it in so many different ways. We have taken this in the car before and just not played with the board and done exactly what you were saying. We pull out the cards because I run out of things to ask. But anybody who's done ABA with your child, they teach categories. So they'll teach them all the different musical instruments, and first they have a prompt and they show a card and they show them all the musical instruments, and then eventually, they'll say to them, name 5 musical instruments, right? And they have to be able to say them, and then they try to add it into real life situations. Well, this makes it much more fun, and they're playing with other people. It doesn't feel like therapy. And the categories are widely different. I would say if you have a younger kiddo on the spectrum, get the Name 5, the original one.
Right.
But if you have a teenager, especially those Aspie teenagers that they're working with socialization,
Aspie teenagers, I think.
this absolutely Name 5. But here's the other thing. Even if you have a kid who doesn't know much about pop culture, here's what you do. You play in teams. So Jem and I would be on a team together, and you and Wyatt would be on a team together. And you turn over the egg timer, and suddenly there's this thing about immediacy. And in ABA, when we finish off any lesson, there's a whole bunch of different ways that we teach something, but the last lesson that we teach is fluency with a lesson, which means that you're doing it fast and appropriate and getting it right, but doing it fast and accurate. So you turn over this timer, and I say to you, name 5 things that teens do with their phones, and you say, they play games, and then Wyatt comes up with something and you're helping each other and you can be prompting him, it really gets them to the point where they can play on their own.
Okay.
It's a really amazing thing to be able to do. I love the team play especially. So great games. Again, Brian, where do they get them? Oops, did we lose him?
You guys there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
we're
here.
here.
Do you have us? Can you hear us?
Hello, Brian.
If you can still hear me, great. I kind of lost my audio on my end.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We're gonna move on to when you can hear us. Let us know when you can.
Do you want to play one of the pop culture?
Okay, let's play.
We're gonna play one, Brian.
Okay, I want to. I don't want to pick ahead.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
here's one that our kids would like.
Okay.
Name 5 characters from SpongeBob SquarePants.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So,
SpongeBob, Sandy,
Peach.
Peach. What's the name of the guy who owns the restaurant?
The Hamburger Shack.
Yeah, right. I can't think what his
I
name.
know,
Mr.
I'm-
Krabs.
Mr. Krabby.
Mr. Krabs.
And Skull. Who's the one that looks like Squidly.
Squidward.
Squidward.
Squidward. There we go. I think we got 5, right? And Pearl. Pearl's the daughter
yeah,
of
yeah.
And we still haven't done Patrick, the star.
And Patrick,
Okay, we
of
hadn't
course.
done-
How can we
All
leave
right.
him out?
No, I know the big
Did you
star.
guys lose me there for a second?
We did
Yeah, we
lose you
did,
for
but
a
we
second.
went ahead and played pop culture name 5.
Cool. I think I heard the end of it of the characters from SpongeBob.
That's
right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And just another quick point there, Shannon. And
Yes.
you may have at this point. I think you were saying about how you guys just like to play a lot by just by breaking out the cards. And
Yes.
these are great icebreakers, great after Thanksgiving dinner or after Christmas dinner sort of quick playing tools here, just the cards themselves. But I do love the game board here, which is also sort of small and travel sized, but it's reminiscent of like an 80s arcade game type of a look. So
Absolutely.
I was happy with the way that the game board itself for Name 5 Pop Culture turned out as well.
It's really cool. Now we want to take because we're running out of time here, but I want to talk about 60-second slam first.
Yeah, cool. Okay, and this game plays super fast. In fact, it plays in 60 seconds. So
I love it.
yeah, so that's basically 60-second slam is like a lot of category-based games, or basically what it is the game we play on long car rides, my kids and I. We call it the alphabet game, where we'll say something like things in a supermarket, and my one daughter will have letter A and say apples, my other daughter says B, bananas, and I say C, carrots, and on we go, try to cover every letter of the alphabet. 60-second slam is the same exact concept. You have score pads that have all the letters A through Z, and then you have a 60-second timer, stand timer, once again, the element of putting you on the clock, and then you draw a card. And this one here, you would have the choice of board games or Christmas carols. And say if we were doing board games, we'd put us on for 60 seconds, and then everyone playing would, in 60 seconds, write down as many board games, one for each letter. So you wouldn't have to go in alphabetical order, but you could just put one for, whatever letter you came up with. Name 5, password, Family Feud. As you write them down, you cross off the letter, and then at the end of 60 seconds, whoever has the most unique answers is the winner of the round.
Love it. And this is a great game for all of our kids. It teaches flexibility of thinking. We're looking at the alphabet. You can play this in teams as well, too. For the kid who needs a jump start to be able to do. There's something that happens with our kiddos, even on the spectrum, when you turn over a timer and the energy goes up and they get that. They get that something's happening and that they're a part of something and they get excited about it. It's a really fun thing. I always say, bring the silly. And one of the best lessons that we do when as parents, that we model the behavior of being willing to throw something out and fail. Games are a great way to teach our kids how to be good losers, that there's perspective, that you're not always going to win without it hurting their feelings, that it gives them that base of that. So I love these kinds of games.
Yep. And again, all these play within 30 seconds or so. You can get through the rules, and you're knee-deep in the fun very quickly.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about the card games, because I love the card games too, because not only are we working on all the cognition skills with card games, but we're also working on fine motor, being able to teach our kids how to hold, cards in their hand. It's a skill. It's a skill,
Yeah.
and our kids need it. So
Yeah,
let's.
so the first one is red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. This one is for ages 5 and up, so I figured I'd start with the lower end. And basically, it's a game where everyone's dealt 7 cards, and the cards have 1s, 2s, 3s, and red lights and green lights on them. And on your turn, you can play as many cards as possible as long as you play in the order of red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. So maybe on my turn, I have a red light and a green light and a 1, but I don't have a 2, so my turn ends there. So maybe then Nancy's up next, and she has 2, and she doesn't have a 3 card. So then it goes to Shannon, and she plays her 3 card, and then it rolls back over to red light, green light, and then red light for you, and then back to me. So really, it's all about being out of your cards first, but staying in sequence of red light, then green light, then 1, 2, and then 3.
And just so people know, sequencing is on the first. It's on kindergarten curriculum. The kids need to be able to sequence the first this, then this. So depending on where your skill level is, you could start this game as early as 3 years old. And it is a great skill that helps to prepare them for kindergarten. Now, if you have a second grader that's still working on sequencing, like we can all get emotional about that and that feels bad, but just work on it. And then your child will be able to get it. And this is a great way to work on sequencing. And then last, but certainly not least, you have Ochos Locos.
That's right, which is basically a literal translation of Crazy Eights.
Okay.
And Crazy Eights is really sort of the game that basically Uno is a derivative of Crazy Eights. So it's a series of number cards, and we also put the Spanish translation because Ochos Locos, as I said, is Crazy Eights in Spanish. So we have an English and Spanish game here. We've got rules in Spanish. We have cards that show the number and the Spanish translation of that number. And what you're trying to do, as in a game like Uno or in Crazy Eights, is you're trying to match the number or the color of the card that was played previously. And instead of how Uno has certain cards like a draw 2 or a reverse, Ochos Locos, we have different hot pepper cards that give you certain advantages. A jalapeno card enables me to look at the cards in your hand and swap out one of my bad cards for a card that you may have that I want. The habanero card, it plays sort of like a reversal where we switch direction of the gameplay. And then the poblano card is one that enables the player of this card to, everybody else has to draw a card, and the poblano card gets to play one of their cards. So this is a big advantage here. And like Crazy Eights, you're trying to play all of your cards first. Oh, and of course, because they're crazy, locos, actually, the 8s are wild.
Wonderful. And so, again, working on turn taking, matching numbers, letters, colors, also learning the names of these things in Spanish, which we know that for our kiddos on the autism spectrum, learning other languages is beneficial. People think that it's not because they're like, oh, if they don't know English, then how but it's actually better for them to learn multiple.
My son has an intense interest in language.
Absolutely.
And he's always saying, how do you say so-and-so in French? How do you say so-and-so in Spanish? How do you say, he's obsessed with that, in fact.
And Jem's obsessed with German. I don't know why, but obsessed with German. So good for our kids to be able to get. So Brian, all of these games are great. We want to encourage people to like you guys on Facebook, Endless Games. Visit your website, endlessgames.com. I got that correct?
That's right.
And I know you have to go and we have to go, but Brian, it's never the holidays unless we've had you. I know that you've got some Christmas lights on your shirt. You always bring it.
Yeah, you do.
We got a little holiday flair here. It's still too early for my crazy Christmas sweaters, but we'll get that next time.
Well, the red's working good for you, Brian.
Yeah, looking holidays. Thank you, and thanks to everybody at Endless Games. We appreciate you so much, and we want to encourage people, get these games, get them underneath the tree, get them for Hanukkah. They're fabulous. They help to build strong bonds with the family.
And have your, work on it with your skills program, or if you have your child's therapist. Like,
Oh,
I get a little overwhelmed by this, but I know that Wyatt's therapist could work on this with him.
And invite friends over. I'm going to play games with Wyatt.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Brian. Have happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
You too.